World of Warcraft, the board game, is a board game produced by Fantasy Flight Games, designed by Christian T. Peterson, and licensed by Blizzard Products in 2005. It is based, obviously, on the wildly worldwide popular MMORPG of all time, World of Warcraft, and allows you to take control of one or more of a variety of classes on either the Horde or Alliance side, and engage in the usual questing and warfare until you can defeat one of 3 legendary overlords, and in this game that means Nefarian, Lord Kazak, or Kel'Thuzad. Remember, this is 2005. All 9 World of Warcraft classes are included, and no 2 classes play alike. Of course, there are more than that now, but give the game some grace, it's been 20 years. This box is a little bit beat up, it's obviously used. I was very happy to gamble on a potentially incomplete auction and win this to find that the only things that it's really missing is 1 token and 1 red 8-sided die, of which there are 6 others. It'll be very easy to proxy both of those things. A little bit of box repair is really all that this thing needed. Obvious disclaimer, I've opened this already, I've reboxed it using sortation and organization methods, nefarious arcane wisdom known only to me that I will share with you today. By using Dollar Tree Hot Wheels boxes, we can effectively manage our components during the reboxing stage, and keep all of the unused stuff packed away. This is very much going to be a look at the pretty miniatures kind of video, but I will talk about the gameplay mechanics and we'll go ahead and take the board out. We'll also take a look at the different classes and discover what it is that makes them unique from one another. Do a little bit of a card presentation, and we'll look at the big, beautiful board, which our neoprene League of Dungeoneers backdrop has nothing to do with. As soon as I take the dice and the Ziploc bags of cards out of the box, we are left with just the board, the rules, and all of the miniatures, save for the hero classes that were in some of those boxes I took out. The game has a ton of miniatures, by the way. I mean, just an immense amount. We have a lovely trifold board that opens up the wrong way, naturally. And for a blessing, the board actually has some interface that makes it easy for 2 players sitting across from one another to play this game. Why more developers don't design things this way, I don't understand. But anyways, we are looking at basically an overview of what is collectively a horde-based territory in the world of Warcraft. I lack the in-depth knowledge of the lore and the setting in which the game takes place that the true World of Warcraft player in this household has. That would be my wife. But I did make it through the base game on a Draenei Hunter, despite not really committing anything that I was doing to memory. There are a lot of settings here, and you can see the delineation in spaces that represent the different places that your miniatures will be able to move. Make no mistake, when you are deep into this game, there will be a ton of monster miniatures roaming around the map. Not just your characters, your heroes, your warring faction miniatures. A helpful key denotes the graveyards from the Alliance cities and Horde cities from the Horde flight paths and Alliance flight paths. And an experience track travels around just one side of the board, allowing us to get to level 5. Our merchant deck will rest right here on the board. There is also a turn tracker. One of the things I heard about this game was that the turn tracker, while it allows the game to end in a finite number of turns, well, let me actually start this over. This game is a game for 2 to 6 players, and the biggest complaint that I've seen consistently about it is that there's too much downtime. There's a lot of waiting. While one player carries out their phases in their turn, the other players are just kind of left twiddling their thumbs. The turn tracker is there to make sure that the game doesn't last for 18 years, and it also pushes certain key elements of the game to happen so that things can move along. But there is a very helpful and handy set of rules that are modified for 2 players with minimal downtime, and I will be sure to link those in the description below. If I'm not mistaken, you can use a variant of that rule set or that rule set to play a solo game as well, playing World of Warcraft as it was originally intended to be played. Why would I say something so controversial yet so brave? As for the dice, it's pretty simple. We've got 7 dice of 3 different colors, green, blue, and red, and just to give you that beautiful bean footage, we'll roll them. There are a number of ways to add these different colored dice to your various dice pools, including equipping armor, summoning demons or pets, using special abilities. There are a lot of mechanics here that stay true to the MMORPG and represented well, such as characters based on class having restrictions as to what type of armor they can equip. For example, we have a male here, class of armor for the Jade Breastplate of Power, and it cannot be equipped to the class card wherein cloth is only able to be equipped. And the game makes use of terminology such as categories to help you mentally manage how you're going to play your character and what your loadout is. For example, this paragraph here, a character may only have one power card of each unique category equipped at any time. The name of the unique category is always printed in the keyword area of the power card. For example, the Paladin has several active powers in the unique blessing category, but a player may only have one power card in each unique category equipped at a given time. Feels like I said that sentence twice, but it was printed in there. So I wonder how much smaller the rulebook would be if we got rid of those redundancies, if there are many of them. For example, the Warlock has 3 unique active power cards in his class deck that are of the Demon category, the Succubus, the Imp, and the Voidwalker. Since all of these cards share the Demon unique category, the Warlock may only have one of these cards equipped on his character sheet at one time. And that feels close to the video game mechanic of summoning one of these things at one time. You will gain experience and level up by completing quests, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of the game. You are trying to complete quests before your opposing factions so that you can unlock the requirements to defeat the boss, unlock and defeat the boss of that game, one of the 3 overlords. We have bag tokens, which I will show you. And true to the game, again, these bags have limits of items. A bag token has a capacity limit of 3 cards. This means that a character may have no more than 3 items in his bag at any time. If a character receives an item card from any source but already has 3 items underneath his bag token, he must immediately place one of the item cards, either the new item card or one of the item cards underneath the bag token, in the merchant deck without receiving any compensation. This is also the only time that a player may choose to discard an item from his bag. Thus, it is not possible for a player to arbitrarily discard an item card from his bag in order to prevent it from being looted after a lost PvP combat, which is also a thing in this game, and again, true to the MMORPG, at least in areas where PvP is allowed. Plenty of people play World of Warcraft and other MMORPGs without ever getting into PvP, and that is a beautiful thing. As an avid PvEer, or player versus environment, or player versus everything, but not other players, enjoyer, I like that I can play this game solo. Not this game, but the MMORPG, but also this game with the modified rules. Let's get on with the unboxing. There are 9 classes referenced in these handy reference sheets. We also have a monster reference sheet that shows you all of the monsters that are in this game. We've got Murlocs, Ghouls, Nagas, Wraiths, Wildkin, Drakes, Infernals, Gnolls, Scarlet Crusaders, Spiders, Worgen, Ogres, and Doom Guards. Those are all of the monsters represented here in the game. The other side of the monster reference sheet, of which there are 2 handily, is a reference sheet that tells us about instant power, active power, character actions. This game has rest actions, challenge actions, town actions, travel actions, and training actions. Creature combat and PvP combat. It's very handy to have this, and it's pretty cool that you get 2. There's always one in reach of somebody at any given time. Now, there are a ton of classes. Some of these are Horde specific, some of these are Alliance specific. Again, true to the game, and a lot of them are shared between the factions. So you just have different races that can be certain classes in the video game. Here it's actually streamlined for you. Allow me to demonstrate. Of the 9 classes, I have 6 in this particular container. When you are choosing your class at the beginning of the game, you usually are going to have 2 different race options, and one is going to represent a Horde character, while the other one is going to represent an Alliance character. And the races in World of Warcraft very much contribute to which side of the faction they are on. Once one player has chosen this class, the other players will be locked out of it. In other words, no 2 players can be the rogue in a game of World of Warcraft, the board game. No 2 players can be a paladin, and so on. I suppose it's possible for you to go buy a second copy of World of Warcraft, the board game, or at least separate sets of class items, such as the tokens, cards, and miniatures that will have to accompany the selection of this particular hero, along with that hero's character sheet. But in general, it's designed so that these classes play in unique ways against each other. So we can use the character sheet here at the top of my stack to show you who these people are. This is Alisy Quicksting, a gnome rogue, and yes, we have a tiny gnome rogue. The miniatures here aren't badly detailed. I kind of like them. They're pretty charming, actually, especially if you like World of Warcraft, which I do. Could they be more detailed? Absolutely. Could they be bigger? Absolutely. but they are instantly recognizable, and in fact, my wife was able to recognize not only the obvious characteristics of the race that the miniature represented, but the class as well. In helping me sort the game pieces, she would say things like, "There, that troll rogue, get him." Now your tokens for each class are double-sided. One side will represent the Horde race, and the other side will represent the Alliance race. So again, kind of playing into, you can only have one of these sides active for this class, for this character, for the duration of this session of the game. Blue for Alliance, red for Horde. Character sheets are pretty cool, by the way. They outline all of the places where you can set your cards for your loadout. There are some default cards that are laid out here for you, attached to the board, of course, as part of the illustration. You can't take these off, but you can place other cards on top of them to replace them. A handy spot for your wounds, energy, and gold. And there are a lot of wounds, energy, and gold tokens, although it doesn't seem like there's an overwhelming amount. And your health and energy across the 5 levels that are attainable throughout the course of your gameplay session. You've also got your own unique ability, such as Expansive Mind, and your gear loadout is going to be a little bit different versus the other side. The other side being Dongon Swiftblade, a troll rogue who has regeneration and allows you to gain 1 health at the start of a faction turn instead of an energy. We've also got a Cursed Fellblade instead of an Assassin's Blade. The cards are small, which Fantasy Flight did a lot of small cards back in the day and never stopped. They always did small cards, always, forever. This is your ability loadout. We've got Opportunity, Ruthlessness, Improved Sinister Strike, Relentless Strikes, Improved Backstab, Improved Ambush, Improved Dual Wield, Cold Blood, Premeditation, Preparation, Seal Fate, Adrenaline Rush, Sinister Strike, Eviscerate, Stealth, Evasion, Backstab, Ambush, Dual Wield, Cheap Shot, Vanish, Rupture, Slice and Dice, and Deadly Poison. I probably won't be going over the entire loadouts of the other classes like that, but I will go over the classes briefly. So next up, we've got our Priest. This is the Dwarf Weefla Sorrowfall. Weefla? 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 Is that a dwarf name? Weefla. And then our female troll, Wenu Bloodsinger. By the way, I'm understanding that these are actually racial abilities here, and I know this because our troll has regeneration, just like our troll rogue had regeneration. Our dwarf has stone form, and if we go to another class, such as hunter, our dwarf hunter has stone form. So there's some loadout variation in the character building, which is really cool. An example of one of the cards for the priest, and we move on. The artwork on the tokens is really nothing to demonstrate every single time I pull a character out. It's just the same artwork that's on the character sheet. And you'll always know the deck of cards that is supposed to go with the character class because that symbol is shared between the sheet and the back of the cards. So next up is Druid, and Artumnus Moondream is our Night Elf Druid. Looks pretty cool. Staff's a little bit bent. Don't worry about that. These guys are a little small, but World of Warcraft definitely has like a built-in heroic style, so these guys definitely HeroQuest if you were wondering. Some of them are laughably out of scale though, like this is supposed to be a Tauren. Tauren are supposed to be very big compared to goblins. Much to my big sadness, this was produced before goblins were a playable class in World of Warcraft. And if that statement is factually incorrect, then I don't know why we can't have goblins. Shadow Meld is our Night Elf ability. We turn around and we get War Stomp for Meadow Frey, who is our Tauren Druid. The artwork and the sculpts are pretty well representative of what you get when you're playing World of Warcraft, so nice job, everybody involved in the production of this. Moonfire would be one of the Druid abilities. Nature's Grasp, Nature's Grace, Improved Rejuvenation, Hurricane, Weapon Balance, Bark Skin, Healing Touch. Next up is Bourbon Fang. That name actually sounds very familiar. This is our Hunter Dwarf. I like him. His pose isn't like super dynamic, but it's very suspicious. Even during roleplay, it's like, I'll have the double mocha latte and don't try any funny business. Hunter cards include Improved Sting and Scorpid Sting. Okay, now this Tauren, this is what I call a Tauren. This is a large creature. Is there really that much of a difference between the male and female Tauren? I don't think there's supposed to be that much of a difference. A slight difference, yeah, naturally, but I don't think it's supposed to be that big of a difference. Anyways, I really like the sculpt. It's very entertaining. It's got a charm to it. Here's our Tauren artwork. Again, War Stomp. Regardless of the race that you choose, the classes have these starting values on their different levels. It's like no matter which side of the class, the character board that you pick, whichever race it is, you're going to have the exact same set of numbers here and here, but these numbers will be different between classes. Your Paladin, for example, will not have the same stats across the 5 levels. And then we've got Sandrai Dark Shine, a human with weapon specialization that allows you to re-roll 1 die. And then an undead, Liam Sagewind, who has Cannibalize. That's right, in World of Warcraft, the undead are very much playable and can be different classes and everything. I didn't say what class this was, but this is Warlock. Our Warlock cards look like this, and they include Succubus. Hey, it's that demon. Ritual of Summoning, Death Coil, Curse of Recklessness, Corruption, Curse of Exhaustion, Void Walker, Curse of Agony. Now, out of all the classes in this game, there is one class that is specific to the Alliance faction and one class that is specific to the Horde faction. The Alliance specific class is Paladin, so you just have one choice here. It's the human Brandon Lightstone, and here's his artwork. And if you're wondering what's on the other side of his board, it's just this nice World of Warcraft the board game. He's got Seal of Righteousness and Devotion Aura and plenty of others. The number of cards per class is pretty well equal. The one for the Horde side is Zauka Shattertusk, and I believe she is a shaman. She's got Blood Fury because she's an orc. The other side doesn't have an Alliance variant, and here is her miniature. By the way, I think these exact same characters, named and all, have these exact same sculpts in little boxes of expansions for the World of Warcraft adventure game, which is another Fantasy Flight board game separate from this one. And your tokens, obviously, for these faction-specific classes are going to be double-sided, but they're going to have the same image on both sides. We're almost done showing the boring heroes. Let's move on to Brebo Big Shot. This guy's such a unit. Look at him. Look at him. I'm gonna get ya! I love this sculpt. That has the most character out of anything in this game, pretty much. It does not match the artwork whatsoever. I mean, obviously the same character, but like, this illustration could never. He's got Expansive Mind. At the start of your faction turn, regain 1 energy. Our rogue gnome from the beginning had that. I hope I didn't call him anything but a gnome. He is a gnome. On the other side is Sophia Icecall, and she is an undead. And they are mages with abilities such as Arcane Explosion. It's always an explosion, it's never an implosion. Mana Shield, Cone of Cold, Portal, and so on. And finally, for our warriors, which have Mortal Strike and other stuff, we have Shailara Witherblade and Grumbuz Crow's Blood. And Shailara is in the running for having my favorite sculpt in this whole game. I don't know, it just seems to be a lot more detail on this particular sculpt than others. You can clearly make out her ears, armor, sword, cape, stance. Everything about her is just really nice. But our resident male orc is pretty cool too. And that is all of our heroes. I guess I shouldn't call them heroes, but I mean, if you're on the side of the opposing faction, then you're a hero to them, right? Just because I know somebody's going to ask, these are the HeroQuest orcs and these are the World of Warcraft orcs, if you need to compare them for some reason. Let's take a look at some of these nice, colorful tokens. Here are our bag tokens, under which we will place our 3 cards. You might decide to homebrew some upgraded bags, so you don't have to worry about just having 3 cards, but that might drastically change the dynamics of the game. We've got some quest markers. We've got rewards, such as the Outrider's Bow, adding 4 blue dice to your dice pool, and you may change 1 result of 1 into a 7. Very nice. We've got status effect tokens, so that you can keep track of any status effects that are applied to your character. We've got cards that will end up in the merchant deck, such as the Scroll of Lesser Strength, the Minor Healing Potion, the Cured Leather Armor, the Soldier's Armor, and so on and so on and so on. You can expect a ton of references to actual items that are in the World of Warcraft video game. We've got our Alliance and Horde tokens, I think 15 of each. No, not quite that many. Like 6 of each, so like not that many by half. The other 3 decks of cards in this box are variations in the merchant deck, different sort of classes of item, basically. And then our 3 Overlord cards, we've got Nefarian. We've actually got 2 sides to each of these. This is if you're playing a game with 4 characters, so or maybe 2 players with 2 characters each, or 4 players with 1 character each. The other is increased stats for an increased difficulty if you're playing with 6 characters. Kel'Thuzad is here, and they made ample use of the video game graphics for pretty much every asset they could have on this board. Lord Kazak is pretty interesting because there are tokens that represent this monster on the board, and you've got to flip them over as you're hunting down this boss. Only one of them has the face of Lord Kazak on the other side, so you have false positions and his true position. There are quest decks specific to the Horde and Alliance, and each set of cards has its own little sub-deck based on the level of difficulty that the quest is. So we have gray, then we go into green, yellow, and red. And the differences between these is the grays are all going to be like level 1, while the greens will be level 2 and 3, the yellows 3 and 4, and the reds 5. Here is an example of what's on a quest card. We've got the flavor text, we've got what monsters you're placing down and where. In this case, it's going to be one Scarlet Crusader that is green. It's going to go right here in the Nightmare Vale. This handy tells you exactly where on the board that is. That's going to be right there, Nightmare Vale. Easy to spot because of this lovely red border coloring. Here's the red. Here's the highlighted spot. Here's the name of the area and another reminder of the color. There it is. I love that. You get your rewards here, 7 gold, 4 experience, 2, I want to say merchant items rewards. Don't know, haven't looked in the book yet for that. The executor reads the strategic documents carefully, then raises his unsettling gaze to meet yours. Our course is clear. The Scarlet Crusade has dispatched his brigade to the ruined tower west of the Undercity. The garrison must be destroyed if we are to rid our lands of the humans. It's a very anti-human because it's a horde quest card. There are other quests as well, such as Curse of Savagery, and you can have the Shadow Forge Bushmaster or Iron Foe that you face off against. I'm not really sure what the context is just yet. You can see that rewards drastically increase the further up this deck you go in terms of difficulty. Some of these quests place more than one monster or more than one type of monster on the board in different places. You got to destroy these monsters to finish your quests. That's pretty much the entirety of how the quests work too. Every single quest card is a monster and a location, then flavor text and rewards. So imagine if your opponent is getting pretty far up there in experience or is able to get to places quickly or draws an advantageous card that you know of, you could engage in a bit of not friendly PvP to take them down a couple of notches and increase your chances of proceeding or progressing in some way and winning. The Alliance quest cards are very similar, just kind of playing the opposite side of the proverbial field morally. And then we have event cards, which are the ones that get uncovered as you increase your turns on the turn tracker. Lovely art on the back of the event cards. We've got stuff like Bounty. Randomly choose one Alliance character and one Horde character. The chosen characters each place one of their character tokens on this card. If a faction can defeat the enemy character on this card, every character of that faction gains 3 XP at the end of that combat. After one of the 2 characters on this card have been defeated in PvP combat, discard this card. New Horizons. Each faction may choose to discard one of their current quest cards and replace it with a new quest card from a quest deck of their choice. Any green and red creatures spawned by discarded quest cards are removed from the board. And the Beasts of Lordaeron, which I think is the name of the setting in which this game is played. Lordaeron. Starting with the current faction, each faction may move 1 group of blue creatures up to 2 regions. Continue moving groups of blue creatures in this way until both factions have each moved 2 groups of creatures. The same group of blue creatures may not be moved twice, and they may not end their movement in a region containing any of the following: enemy characters, blue creatures of the same type, faction starting regions. There are a lot, and I actually read like 3 very, very similar ones because some of these have rewards. Stronger faction 5-2, weaker faction 5-4. Stronger and weaker is based on the amount of experience that a given faction has at that time, I think. Goblin Merchant. Starting with the character that has the fewest XP, break ties randomly. Each character may sell 1 item from their bag for half its gold price rounded down. A lot of events to keep the game moving in fluid, nice, unexpected, and fun ways. And now it's time for the enemies. We've got 3 colors of every sculpt, and that is because we have independent creatures, which are the blue plastic figures, and we have quest-specific creatures. Quest creatures are green and red. There are rules for what to do if you run out of plastic creatures, because that's a thing that can evidently happen and was planned for. But I will select 1 or 2 of each creature and give you the presentation here shortly. We've got our ghouls. We've got our, these aren't called owlbears. What are these? Wildkins. We've got our drakes, although this sculpt doesn't look a whole lot like the actual game art. This is a pretty bizarre case here. We've got our ogres, which are fan favorites. I like these sculpts a lot, actually. It's kind of like they were ripped directly from the game and just printed out. We've got our infernals. No, the different colors don't mean different elements or anything like that. Again, we've got quest creatures and independent creatures. I kind of wanted to save the Doom Guard for last because he's just so cool, but no, we'll go ahead and show him off now in all 3 of his colors. Really, this guy would make an awesome boss. in another roll-to-move dungeon crawl tabletop game. We've got the Scarlet Crusaders, which, let's be honest, are just humans. Boring. We've got spiders, arachnophobia warning right now, although they're kind of crabby looking. I kind of like how they don't even have bases. We've got gnolls, which is a great World of Warcraft monster. You could go ahead and paint one of these guys up to look like Hogger if you wanted. These are Naga. They're pretty cool looking. I like them. I have no complaints, no notes. Very Naga. We've got Worgen, which they kind of look a little bit goofy. This is obviously the older style of Worgen before the great remodel, remaster, remake of what they look like came a little bit later. We have Wraiths, bog standard, not very entertaining looking in my opinion. Sorry, Wraith fans. And then I did save the best for last. We have Murlocs. Sorry, I planned on doing that like the entire episode. It kind of played out in my head just a little bit better. The Murloc sculpts are great. I would love to see these in other games. And that is pretty much the entirety of the World of Warcraft board game. This is not the fantasy, or rather the adventure game. That game comes in a smaller, although no less Fantasy Flight-ish box. I don't need to explain that, right? Like, if you know, you know. Also, you might have noticed, I don't know if it's even noticeable, but we don't have the same number of red, green, and blue monsters. This is normal, it's by design. You're not going to have the same quantities of each kind of monster. You're going to have more green monsters than the other two monsters, in a lot of cases, more green than the other two combined. But in general, you'll have like 4 green, 2 red, 2 blue, or some configuration where the green's pretty much double. World of Warcraft, I can't wait to hunt those rules down and learn the game and then play the game with the variation of rules that kind of makes the game go by quicker, because I would not have appreciated playing this with all the downtime. I wanted this game for a long time, so I'm really happy that I found it at what I'm going to call a discounted price due to the questionable amount of pieces. Everything else was here and everything was in fantastic condition except for the box, and honestly, a game is well loved and has a kind of a beat up box. It doesn't bother me one bit. It adds to the game's charm, and to be completely honest with you, that's what the box is going to look like at some point during the game's life with me anyway. The price will probably shoot up as people go out looking for this for a little while, and then they'll forget all about this video, and then the price will go back down. Those are the breaks. Break it up, break it up, break it down. I'm also pretty happy that the rather strong, musty smell that this had when it first delivered is pretty much gone. If you enjoyed this unboxing, you obviously enjoyed the video. Hope you liked and subscribed and all that by now, and go check out the channel for other board game unboxings. There's a lot on here at this point, and a lot of which I bet you didn't even know about. Especially lately, now that I'm getting into the deep, forgotten, obscure realm of fantasy adjacent games. I'm getting a lot of comments on the channel like, wow, I thought I knew of every game, and then you showed us this one? And then still others that were like, I thought that game was a fever dream. I had it when I was a kid. And it's always really awesome to hear this kind of stuff. By the way, if you don't like the whole Hot Wheels branding in your fantasy board games boxes, I don't blame you at all if you don't pick these cases up, but I actually really love these cases for the sizes of the compartments that are in them. The fact that they're only $1.25 at Dollar Tree. They used to have clear, transparent ones, and I vastly preferred those for the fact that the inserts were actually removable, so you could kind of customize which ones you wanted to leave in, and there were clips on the sides, so you could slide them together and they would just come out as one unit, like they would never be taken apart again. And of course, they were transparent. But at some point, they switched to this opaque black, and it's not like I could just not buy them, because I have all kinds of uses for these things, especially since I collect board games. Well, fantasy board games, and at any rate. So thank you very much for your kind attention and for watching again, and as always, I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, have a fantastic rest of your day, and for the either Horde or Alliance, depending on, you comment below which one it's for. Which one is it really for? Which one are you for?